This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Villanova was the number one seed while they were always in the top five all year long. When I looked at their scores in the NCAA tournament, there were not even any close ones. They were dominating everyone, and they after those first 15 minutes, they really were a better team than us. I'm so proud of our kids. We didn't play in some areas well, and we didn't make some shots that we usually make. But we got to put a lot of credit to Villanova and Jay Wright, his whole staff. In one day, they did a great job of getting ready for us, and we needed to play better. But even if we had played our best, it would have been very difficult to win that game with what DiVincenzo did. Was an incredible performance. So sometimes those individual performances just beat you, and you just say, okay, you take off your hat and say, good game. We played the best we could, and tonight you were better than us.
How's the Detroit Sports Podcast going?
Today's episode of the Motor City Sports Rant is brought to you by The Athletic, premium coverage for passionate Detroit sports fans. Listeners of this podcast can save 20% off the first year of an annual subscription by visiting theathletic.com/DSP. Don't miss out on reading great content from a great Detroit sports website by visiting theathletic.com/DSP.
Detroit is the greatest! Straight up light you on fire for a Coney dog right now.
Darren McCarty comes back with Neiman in front of him. McCarty draws. McCarty in. McCarty scores! He makes them a goal! Darren McCarty!
Stafford takes, throws, end zone, Calvin, touchdown, Detroit Lions!
Welcome, everybody, to the latest edition of the Motor City Sports Rant. I am the Doc, John Macaroon. Jason, not here. He enjoyed himself some Tiger baseball on a Monday, one of the hundreds that went out to Comerica Park to check out the Detroit Tigers. My goodness, we all knew it was going to be light in terms of attendance, but over there at Comerica Park that opening weekend with the weather, with how things shook out on opening day and that atrocious call, it just didn't make it so that the fans really wanted to get out there. And most of the fans do recognize that the Tigers are going to struggle. So Jason said, let me take advantage of some cheap tickets. Let me go out there and enjoy me some Tigers baseball. And guess what? They ended up winning the contest. So good for Jason, good for the missus. It's always great for him to have an opportunity to spend time with the missus, as you've heard here on the podcast. Jason is really busy sometimes, doesn't get a chance to do those sort of things. So he got to rock the Detroit Sports Podcast Adidas tracksuit. So I'm very thrilled with that. Took it out to Comerica Park. But he's not here today, so that leaves me here in the AM, not tired. Remember, if you're one of those people that is complaining regarding the NCAA tournament game starting off at 9:20, seriously, they have such a thing, and it really helps people. It really helps people stay awake, stay energized, and it's one word. It's called coffee. Drink it. I mean, if you're out there and you're dragging, it's Tuesday morning right now, and I'm here recording a podcast because I love sports. I love breaking it down. I love getting out there and watching competition. And obviously, as a Michigan State supporter, I'm not going to lie, I was hoping that Michigan was going to lose to Villanova, because when I was talking to the crew, when I was talking to everybody, I was like, look, I'm a Spartan fan. This is a real rivalry. So what is the ultimate punishment for your rival? And that's getting so close to the championship, getting so close to the ultimate prize and not getting it. And so as a Spartan fan, I was out there rooting for Villanova, which was interesting because the owner of Tap and Barrel really laid into me. He was not happy in that I was a pro-Villanova guy. And when Villanova was kicking Michigan's ass in the second half, I was like, yes. You know, he could see me smiling, smirking. So he was passing out shots, trying to avoid me, trying not to give me the free alcohol. But in the end, if you're a Spartan fan and you did not root for Michigan, that's fine. I don't expect any Michigan fans to root for Michigan State whenever the Spartans have any level of success. So come on, Matthew, show some love. Don't be a hater. My goodness, I'm just a Spartan fan. And so I was, excited on Monday night to go watch. I don't care if the game would have started at 11:30. I would have been ready. They have such a thing called a power nap. I mean, you can take a couple-hour nap. You had from, most people get off of work at 5 o'clock. You had from like 6 till 9 o'clock to figure out a way to have some energy. So don't come here and complain that the game started at 9:20. It's the NCAA tournament final game. It pits two of the teams that are playing the best, and it was Villanova versus Michigan. So I was excited. I was pumped. I was literally, could not wait for tip-off. So got to the Tap and Barrel Grill, enjoyed the time. As sports fans, we go back and forth. We kind of think, okay, you know what? Michigan's defense, if they have an opportunity to stop Villanova, then they have an opportunity to actually win this game. There have been opportunities where Villanova has not shot the best, and Michigan, if they could have shot lights out similar to previous games in the NCAA tournament, if their threes would have fallen, then you have a realistic chance to win the entire thing. And in the first 10 minutes, the scene is set. Michigan did not look afraid. And that's a good thing for the Michigan program. The Michigan supporters at the bar were really excited. You were hitting shots. You went inside to Mo Wagner. He established his post presence really early. Everyone was okay. It was like, okay, good. Early on, the first 10 minutes, Michigan looked like they belong with Villanova. That was a good thing. Everybody was excited. They were like, okay, let's settle in. Let's hope for a grinded out game. And then the lights switch went off for Villanova, and holy cow. The part that probably is the most concerning and the most frustrating for Michigan fans is the fact that a dude that came off the bench, Dante DiVincenzo, comes off and just dominates Michigan and starts hitting shots. A dude that's basically a role player who averages around 10, 11 points per game comes into the contest and starts looking like Steph Curry. Wow. And Michigan did not have an answer. And so late in the first half, you got about the first 10 minutes, it was basically all Michigan. They were doing some things, making shots, stopping Villanova, who couldn't hit anything early in the contest. And then all of a sudden, Villanova, you know what? The light switch went off. They started hitting threes. They started making plays. And then they started to force Michigan into some uncomfortable looks offensively, basically making Michigan an ISO team. And then nobody could hit shots. I mean, you had opportunities, and John Beilein spoke, as you heard at the top of the podcast. He spoke in the post-game presser, and he said, wow. And people asked him, what did Villanova do defensively? And they basically were switching on every screen. They were making it almost impossible for Michigan to do what they wanted to do. And Michigan then had opportunities with their great passing, with their sets, to get some open looks, and they just did not fall in the later half of the first half. And then when Villanova gets on that run, and you knew it was coming, everybody knew, okay, if it's a close game, if there's a scenario in which Villanova is going to, try and be in this game, you knew they were going to make a run. You knew they were going to make shots, and you just had to limit that. And once it got rolling for Villanova, unfortunately, Michigan didn't have any answers, and they rolled. Villanova rolled Michigan, and the bar was upset. And for me, I hate to say it, but I wanted to be part of a championship celebration. It's been a while for Detroit, so I was kind of torn. I'm not going to lie. I was conflicted in that I'm a sports fan. As a sports fan, you want to be around a positive vibe. You want to be around some energy. You want to be around championship-level competition. And unfortunately, it just didn't happen. I mean, Michigan, everybody in their rational brain, nationally, locally, if you really were true to yourself, you knew that Villanova was the best team in the NCAA, and it was just a matter of time before Michigan was going to be the next victim. So Michigan, unfortunately, just could not keep up with Villanova. They were the best team. Villanova really went through the NCAA tournament without much of a scare in terms of final score. Double-digit wins across the entire NCAA tournament. You know how absurd that is? Do you know how difficult that is to go through a tournament with other guys, other 18 to 22-year-olds, similar competition, similar levels of coaching, to go through and not just win games, but to destroy opponents? It's really fascinating. It's all credit to Jay Wright and what he's done over there at Villanova. And then on the side of Michigan, you got to look to them and say, okay, how much disappointment do you have out there when you're listening to this morning and you say, well, you woke up, did you really realistically think that Michigan was going to win the game. I mean, early on when I saw the bracket, when it first came out, I said to myself, okay, it kind of shapes up for Michigan to do some things. It shakes out for Michigan to have an opportunity to go out there and perform and do some good things. First weekend of the tournament, Michigan gets out of it, that miraculous shot by Jordan Poole, and then you get into the second weekend, and you go out there to the Staples Center, and you play really well. You make it to the Final Four. You play a solid game versus Loyola. Now, could there have been things that went better for Michigan? Of course. You just needed a couple more contributors in the biggest moment. You had Mo Wagner. He was doing some things, but unfortunately, top to bottom, roster to roster, the top six for Villanova were just better than the six that really contribute for Michigan. And unfortunately, Michigan went away from going to Wagner, and Villanova had all the right answers. Jay Wright is a coach now that has elevated himself to the stratosphere of all time. I mean, when you win 2 NCAA tournaments in 3 years, and you have a team that many people are liking going forward in 2018, it's something where, teams out there in the Big East, the ACC, the SEC, you start looking at conferences, and the Big Ten, in terms of wins and what they can do in tournament, they can make some noise, but in terms of taking it down, many people are starting to question, can the Big Ten really establish itself and get to national prominence by winning another, national championship? And it just hasn't happened as of late. So now you're a Michigan fan and you watch that. I'm wondering, what do you guys view it as? How do you view the season? Are you thrilled that a team that was basically unranked in the early part of 2018 had a bad loss to Nebraska, kind of had no momentum, and all of a sudden, starting in February, they run off this great streak of about 14 straight games. They perform really well. They start to emerge. They get better in February and March, even have an undefeated March. They have a month where they don't lose a game, and they get to the NCAA tournament final, and they play Villanova. Are you upset? Are you of the mindset that it's championship or bust? I mean, listening to local radio, you hear people that are like, no, when the expectations change, it's time to really, bring home the bacon, bring home the NCAA tournament. Is it one of those situations where you're upset? Are you mad as a Michigan fan that Michigan didn't bring it down? Are you mad that they got blown out? Are you upset that they did not go out there and really deliver the goods? They did not really perform, and they didn't bring their A game. That's the thing I think that might upset a lot of people, is that they did not bring their A game. They had a good 10 minutes. They had a good 10 minutes of a 40-minute contest, and then it just went south. So are you upset as you're listening to this? Are you of the opinion that no, I'm just happy they got to the NCAA tournament final? Are you of the mindset that, you know what, Michigan is a team that's not known for basketball? Many people are starting to champion the position that Michigan is a basketball school. They're showing a lot of love for John Beilein, but some people are taking the stance that, look, let's be excited. You know what? There are situations when everybody knows that the opponent is better. When they actually perform, that, 10 times out of 10, you probably think that if Villanova plays, a B game, that they're going to have enough to defeat Michigan. So I'm interested to see what you guys think. And but from our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast, I do believe many people were positive. They were of the mindset that, look, Michigan is a basketball school now. They have an opportunity to bring in a lot of great talent. John Beilein is really building this program to be something that's going to be outstanding in the next 5 years. And I do think if you're a Michigan fan, it's time to be excited. This is a great time to be a Michigan basketball fan. I mean, you got a head coach who, by all accounts, is very stable, very clean, and has taken his team to Final Fours and 2 championship games in 5 years. There's nothing to complain about. I do think that it is upsetting that, you didn't really bring your best in a championship game, but you're playing Villanova and you're playing a national powerhouse with talent all across the board, with dudes that can shoot, defend, and are in that system. And that's what Jay Wright does a great job of, is he brings in guys, and he really brings in dudes that are able to run his system. So if you're a Michigan fan, don't hang your head. It's a situation in which you wake up today, you feel good. You feel good that you're a Michigan supporter. You feel good that the next 2 or 3 years, there's an opportunity to really do some things. But I do believe a lot of your 2018 success is going to hinge on one name. And I'm hoping, I do think there is an individual that has the ability to go to the NBA, and that's Mo Wagner. I think that if he comes back, you're looking at probably another Final Four run with that setup and with who's coming in. So I'm hoping that Mo Wagner decides to come back and play for Michigan and really bring home. If he really said that his goal was to win an NCAA tournament, come back, enjoy the experience. John Beilein said that. Why are people leaving so early? Yeah, money sometimes is not the only factor, but there are experiences in college that you're able to, go through and not deal with so much NBA pressure in the life of a professional. There are advantages to staying in college. And I really hope that Mo Wagner does decide to come back, because it'll really make the rivalry great again with Michigan State. You're going to keep it up, and then you're going to have probably, if Mo Wagner decides to come back and really hone his skills, I do think that maybe in the 2019 draft he might be a top 5 pick. Whereas right now, I do think he'll get drafted in the first round, but probably mid to late first round is, I think, where most people do slot him. So I do hope that Mo Wagner comes back and really helps Michigan solidify the opportunity to come back again and take over, the NCAA and make another deep run. I think that'll be great. It'll be an interesting opportunity for Michigan. But most people think at this point in time that Charles Matthews will come back, the guard who came over from Kentucky and started to emerge in this year's tournament. And most people think that Mo Wagner is actually going to leave. So that would be kind of frustrating in that, you then are going to count on some young cats to come in. You're going to count on the emergence of Simpson running that offense and things like that. And then you're going to have the emergence of the young cats who got a wealth of experience in the 2018 NCAA tournament. So Michigan's future is bright. Many people are high on Michigan's future, and I think rightfully so. Michigan, John Beilein, has done some amazing things. Look what he's done. In essence, when you look at what John Beilein's done, he is vastly underrated. An individual that's taken talent and molded them into his system by being able to shoot the three lights out, by being able to now defend and play a lot better around the rim. They're able to play team defense. They're able to stop people. They're able to stop teams that are known for shooting threes. They're able to go out there and enforce their will onto others. And that's what Michigan's starting to do. But now, if you're a Michigan fan, you just need one last piece. You got to get a couple more blue chippers. You got to get big name dudes in here. And I'm hoping this run for Michigan allows them to go out there nationally and maybe just get one or two more big names to come to the University of Michigan, to come to Ann Arbor. Because yes, you can have a great team collectively. Yes, you can go out there and have the best system. But by and large, for the most part, what wins in the NCAA tournament is talent. You got to have talented individuals that can put the ball in the basket, that can be athletic, that can do a bunch of different things. And for Michigan to take that next step, because look, from time to time, a coach of John Beilein's caliber, he can go out there and make deep runs to the NCAA tournament. He's shown that. But to get over the edge, to get the final prize, you got to get one or two individuals that are superstars. You got to get the guy that's going to take your program over the edge. And does Michigan have the opportunity to do that now? Yes. Now the iron's hot. You got to strike John Beilein. You got to go out there and recruit top-end dudes. You got to bring in the next 2 or 3 years, you got to bring in one or two potential one-and-doners. And I know that makes people really nervous to think about, bringing in young cats that might disrupt the program by having the distraction of whether they're going to come to the NBA or leave or stay and all that noise. But for John Beilein and that Michigan program, the time is now. You got to go out there and recruit big name dudes and have the ability to get over the hump. You only have a small window, potentially maybe the next 5 or 6 years with John Beilein, given the fact that he's 65 years old. So the iron's hot. Michigan is all the talk nationally. You got a lot of pub. So for Michigan to get over the hump, you got to get one or two huge names in there, and you got to get that program over the hump. John Beilein, many people say that, they're starting to believe that he can bring a national title to Michigan. A great run, but in the end, you got to have talent. You got to bring in big dogs, and I'm hoping that a deep NCAA tournament run in 2018 allows Michigan to go out there and be maybe at the top of some high-end recruits lists. Maybe not go to Kentucky. Come to Michigan. Come be coached by John Beilein, a classy individual who's going to do things the right way. You're going to get better. So I'm hoping that Michigan takes advantage of the 2018 season and really goes out there and recruits some bigger name dudes. You got to do it because, you can make a tournament run. Yes, you can go out there and you can compete, get to the Final Four, but in the end, it's all about getting that ship. And if you don't get that ship, then it's just going to be frustrating, and the fans are going to get really, really tired of losing in the NCAA finals. 2, okay, you got there, but in the end, versus Louisville and versus Villanova, you didn't walk away with the championship. And at the end of the night, people at the bar were really, people that go to the bar to watch sporting events are kind of interesting. They were upset at some of the calls that were made in the first half. They were cheering Mo Wagner. They were really excited early on. And then once Villanova made the run, people were like, people were kind of screaming and yelling for some different sets to be called. People were upset that Michigan was actually shooting that many threes. So if you're listening, are you upset that Michigan maybe did not win versus Villanova? Are you listening to me and going, man, you're just an excuse maker. You're not a real fan. You thought you should have really looked critically at Michigan, what they did, in terms of the fact that once Villanova got on their run, Michigan jacked up a lot of threes. That's their team, though. What did we say all along throughout the course of the podcast? Michigan's a team that likes to shoot the three. They're a team that they're going to go down with that. If they don't make it, then that's it. That's a wrap. They believe that, if they miss 5, that they're going to take 5 more and make them. So are you upset, though, that you saw with your eyes what Mo Wagner was able to do with the ability to go inside and maybe, cause some matchup nightmares? Are you upset by that? Are you upset that Michigan started jacking up a bunch of threes late in the first half when Villanova was making their run, and maybe they went away from some strengths that they could have taken advantage of by getting some mismatches? But, are you also upset that an unknown, unheralded cat, DiVincenzo, comes out there and does an amazing job? An unsung hero. Does it sting more to have a dude like that, number 10 for Villanova? Does it sting to have him come out there and drop 30 on you? Dude, seriously? Villanova's that good that a dude off the bench can come in and drop that many points. Does that bother you? I mean, it was really eye-opening. People were just like, after, shot after shot was falling for the cat, people were just like moaning and groaning at the bar, and it was really fascinating. It was one of those situations in which, an unsung cat came in there for Villanova, and they didn't even need their best players to perform to beat Michigan. And so, if you're Michigan, it's interesting in that when the team bus came back, Michigan just has such strong support. You still had people chanting for John Beilein when the team bus got back to the hotel. You had people still chanting, Go Blue, singing the fight song. But a couple people said something that really is kind of indicative of where Michigan fans at and how they get over such losses. And the phrase was, "We're still Michigan." And it really hit home. I mean, I guess that's where you're at if you're a Michigan fan. You have a solid program. You identify with that school. And so a lot of people just said, look, we're still Michigan. And when you have that bravado, when you have that ego, and you have that love and passion and connection for your program, that's okay. I think that it's one of those things where when you look at Michigan and you look at what they've done in the 2017-2018 season, it is really surprising. It is really awesome that there's an opportunity for Michigan to take the next step in basketball, and maybe it'll help the other aspects of the Michigan athletic program. Maybe Jim Harbaugh will see the success of Michigan and also kick it into gear in terms of what he can do for the football program. But you're still Michigan. You're still a nationally prominent program. You're still a program that many people love and respect. It was a fascinating ride. I'm just fascinated what people's reaction. I wonder how people are going to remember the 2017-2018 Michigan season. Are they going to remember the great victories versus Michigan State? Are they going to remember that Jordan Poole miraculous shot versus Houston? Are they going to remember, the great run versus Loyola and taking down Sister Jean? Or is it going to be just, look, you know what? They got to the tournament and they made a run, but in the end they got crushed by Villanova. I wonder how history is going to treat Villanova because of the fact that it's been a down year in the NCAA, and people, people feel like Villanova was by and large the better team by a landslide. So it'll be interesting to see because people do revere that 2013 team. And I do want to bring up a point regarding Michigan and some fans that message us on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast. A lot of people early on were not happy with the officiating. Some people going back to 2013 will tell you, look, you know what, Trey Burke, that was not a foul. It was a phantom foul. It was a clean block. And people will, forget that Louisville had a good team. Louisville had a solid team. Unfortunately, their title got vacated. But in the end, you look at it and you say to yourself, okay, this team Michigan in the first 10 minutes could play with Villanova, but did you think that they could play with them for 40 minutes straight? Probably not, but many people who messaged us on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast, they were furious at the missed goaltending call. They were feeling like, oh my gosh, some of the players on Villanova could take liberties and do some things, and they were getting some ticky-tack calls, whereas Michigan would do the same thing, post up, and they would not be able to get that call. You know what? For those of you that say that, some people then actually messaged us and said, look, let's just look at the actual number of free throws that were taken. It was pretty close in the first half. So I don't buy it. I don't make excuses. Yes, sometimes referees can take a team out of the flow, and maybe you could have a gripe saying that some of the calls were ticky-tack. But I think those that complained, that messaged us, were saying, look, just call it equal. If you're going to call the ticky-tack fouls on Michigan, maybe call them as well on Villanova. And that, when the foul started getting called at that clip, it basically took Michigan out of their rhythm. And that was one of the contributing factors for the offense stalling. But remember, the argument to that was Michigan, through passing and through their sets, was able to get open looks. I mean, Mo Wagner, was standing there wide open, and he shot the ball 2 feet to the right of the rim in an epically bad air ball. And then you had DiVincenzo. He's out there, and he's guarded. He's almost double-teamed. And John Beilein said that if he could do it again, he might have double-teamed him even more than they actually did. But he was making, contested shots, and Michigan had wide open looks, and they did not take advantage. So you can't make excuses. In the end, if you really are honest with yourself, Villanova is the better team, and 9 times out of 10, the better team wins. It would have taken basically for Michigan to win, and I know it stinks to hear that. It would have taken a miracle for Michigan to play 40 minutes with Villanova and to walk away with the score better. Villanova would have had to shot so horrifically, and then Michigan would have had to have shot lights out. But they've done it before. You all seen it versus Texas A&M. You all seen it. You all seen the opportunity when Michigan shows up and balls out. That was an epic performance, to get them to the Elite Eight contest. That Sweet 16 performance versus Texas A&M was amazing. You know what? They shot lights out. They were able to just do everything they wanted to do in a game that got out of hand in the first 10 minutes. You dropped almost 90 points plus in a game that was a laugher, and many people were like, yes, Michigan can do that. They needed to dial up one more performance just like that, and they weren't able to do it. And so, to wrap this up, I'm going to get out of here. My 30 minutes are up. I don't want to invade your ear holes for more than 30 minutes by myself, and it's difficult to do this by yourself. I mean, I'm pretty proud of myself. I just turn on the microphones here in Sterling Heights, turn the lights on in the lab, and the stuff comes out. And so, I guess I must be crazy enough to love sports this much to be here on a Tuesday morning breaking down Michigan, a team that I don't even support. But I got the energy. I got, a medium coffee from a great establishment, and I'm here ready to go. And this is just one of 3 I'm recording today. So obviously, I love this. I love the support that you guys have given us. But to leave you with this, Michigan had an amazing season. There is a lot of hope going forward that the program is in a good spot. They're on the level or even surpassed Michigan State here in the state of Michigan, but their goals have to expand. They got to look to become more nationally prominent, and the only way to do that, I do believe, is to go out there and just get a couple more blue chippers, maybe even gamble on some one-and-dones. I know you don't want to hear that. I know it scares a lot of people in terms of maybe wrecking a program and maybe bringing on some trouble like what's going on over there at Michigan State. But if Michigan State and Tom Izzo have done it, he recognizes, and I know it's been to his detriment so far, but you still got to keep rolling the dice. Sometimes, when you roll up to that crap table, you're excited, you got your chips, you hear the stories of your boys winning $500, $600, $1,000 at the craps table. Sometimes when you do it, you go up there and you just can't hit pass. Every time you roll it, it's snake eyes. Sometimes you just got to say, you don't just give up and pack your bag. No, you keep working, bring back your chips, buy more chips, and you roll up to the table the next day. And that's what Michigan State's going to do. That's what Michigan should do. They should show up, and they should show back up to the table and take a chance. Sometimes the timing is just right for you to take that calculated risk, and now is that time for Michigan. Take that calculated risk, go out there, be willing to get a little bit of a higher caliber level player, and help Michigan get over the hump. You should be very proud of your team. And if you're a fan that, was upset that at the loss to Villanova, I can understand that. But with time, I do think that people are going to come to revere and really love this 2018 team, a team that many people really found to be fascinating, interesting, and really brought a lot of great memories to the fan base. It's a great time to be a college basketball fan in Michigan. I think the future is bright. But the question I'll leave you with is, how much faith do you have that Michigan can actually win it all in the next 5 years? What percentage chance would you give it? 60%? 70%? I think it's a little bit less. I think you got maybe a 40 to 45% chance of actually bringing home the title. Villanova's getting better. You got the blue chippers, Duke, Kentucky, State. It's just really hard to win it all. And so to be in that arena, it just takes a lot of luck and a lot of special talent to get the job done. The NCAA tournament's hard to win, and you don't just roll up there and win the entire tournament. So as a Sparty, a little disappointed that Jaren Jackson declared for the NBA. I do think that he got some bad advice. I know that people think he's a top 5 draft pick, but I just don't think he has the game yet to really make an impact in the NBA. Sure, you can get your millions early, but if you're not an impactful player, you might be just one of those 3 first-year contract guys. And I'm thinking that Jaren Jackson, I think he would have benefited from staying a couple more years at Michigan State. It's disappointing when I read that he actually declared, but that is life now in the NCAA. You got to take that risk. Tom Izzo did. And this go around, snake eyes with Miles Bridges and Jaren Jackson. But go out there, Tom Izzo, get some more blue chippers, maybe with a little bit more heart and grit than this go around. Just saying. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I appreciate your time. Thank you for the 30 minutes that you dedicated to listening to me, through your ear hole and however you listen to this. Thank you for downloading it. I greatly appreciate it. Visit our website, DetroitSportsPodcast.com. I greatly appreciate all the support. Thank you for everybody that messages us during the week and during contests. Anytime there's a big sporting event, wrestling, Detroit sports, a big event, follow Detroit Podcast for the happenings. Get yourself over. The best get retweeted. The best tweets to us at our Twitter page, at Detroit Podcast. No filter. Say whatever you want. I read everything. I'm one of the primary people that looks at that Twitter account, among others. And if it's good, I'll retweet it, and you can get yourself over. Be one of those great sports fans. I know it. There's a lot of them here in the state of Michigan. Thank you for listening. Check out our great work all across the network, DetroitSportsPodcast.com. See everybody next time.
Okay, nice, idiot. You. Bye-bye.
Good day, sir. I said good day.
All right. Take care now. Bye-bye then.
Loser.